Good day, Damien the Blogger. Today's rather morose talk is going to be on the subject of death, or as we in the pensions industry like to call it, in a positive frame, longevity. The question mark about longevity is that great unknown. And what we've got to do within the pensions industry is work out you have a pot of money here, and that can be paid out for an indeterminable number of years to the day you die. And because we don't know when you're going to die, although we have actuarial tables that will help us kind of get to a kind of reference point, it could be 85. Other factors come into play, which is your own lifestyle. It will be your postcode, your affluence, etc. So it's very, very hard to sit there and judge everybody as equals. We're not. When it comes to death, none of us will cheat it, but we are all impacted by it. The question mark is when. Because it's an unknown, we can do three things, in my view. We can simply ignore it and try and stretch a pot to an indefinable kind of period of time, 100 years, 100 years life is what we're all aiming for. Christ, no. Or we can sit there and go, actually, it's an unknown. And with unknowns like fires and cars and things like that we don't know about, there's insurance. Do we need to insure against the concept of living beyond a certain age? 85, 90, whatever it may well be. The problem with that is, I don't know about you, but I don't think I'll be going skiing when I'm into my 80s. I may be, I sincerely doubt it. The likelihood is I'll be probably having a glass of port and a chocolate digestive, and that will be the sum total of my day, maybe even starting to read books, those kind of paper things. Who knows? Who knows? But the likelihood of me basically going out and splashing to holidays in Barbados and the likes is it's not going to be there. My spending pattern will change as basically my health fails. And this is the last thing. If we sit there and go, we can ignore the unknown, we can insure against the unknown. The other thing is basically to try and study the unknown. Now, genetic testing isn't perfect. It's certainly better than these bloody face recognition. Oh, do you want to know what your old age looks like? Look at this and it'll age you. Jeez, how much was spent on doing that? If you want to look at what your old age looks like, look at your dad. And if you want to go really, really old, have a look at your granddad. There you go. That'll tell you a lot. It's about genetics, about what basically the building blocks of your DNA. Genetics, from what I can read about, I'm not an academic, come into play as we get older. Certainly what they're suggesting is for the first 70 kind of odd years of your life, your lifestyle, moderation, exercise will get you through. As you get older, effectively genetics come into play. So why don't we, when we're sitting there at kind of points of retirement, actually do genetic tests? Why don't we test? This has got to be your own decision, but surely, I've just come back from medical. Everything looks great. I'm looking after my weight. I'm looking after my diet, my PSA levels, colonoscopies and all that kind of shit. Yeah, stuff. I'm looking after myself because it's important to do so. Now, affluence really does play a part in this. We're sitting there talking about kind of people on low incomes supported by food banks and things like that, and the quality that people are basically going to put into their mouths. We've got to basically make people eat better, and we've got to basically make people exercise to have that longevity. No doubt about that. If you don't, you are going to die early. It's just one of those factors. But in terms of if you can genetic test and you can look forward, surely at the point of retirement, as you're making these big decisions about how long to stretch out, it will help you. It will also help you understand the consequences of living too long, etc. So for me, three unknowns and how we deal with them in terms of death or longevity, depending which way you look at it. Do you A, ignore it and stretch out and hope that it is the 100 years or whatever it may well be? Do you insure against it? Which has got to be a really sensible approach if you're not going to go for the third option, which is try and do the genetic testing to at least get some gauge of longevity. Anyway, that's my subject for the day. I did a LinkedIn post about this using Rutger Hauer and Blade Runner. If you want to have a go back to that, the Tear speech, and a wonderful speech in terms of just that kind of finite way of looking at life that as a replicant he was. But anyway, don't want to spoil the plot. Anyway, thank you very much indeed. Morose, but such an incredible part of retirement planning that is just forgotten because we don't like talking about death. Hey, it's going to come to us all. With that, see you soon.